Here we have our 2000 Chevy S10 that we are going to be doing an LS swap with a 4L80E. Still in the process of getting everything gutted over here. I did not get any videos up until this point. I should have, just didn't think about it and decided to do this on a whim. Already got the dash out, seats pulled, steering column's just gonna probably float there for the time being. When we got it, the cab corner was all bashed in. Still got to pull the fuel tank out. We got this Ford Explorer. It's a 373 gear ratio with a locker, 8.8 inch. I already got the spring perches, the guide pins that are right here. Got them widened out to hopefully be able to sit in there for the time being. We might end up having to redo the spring perches down here. Just depending on what our pinion angle and everything ends up being. I got to get these calipers freed up and see if they're savable. But got that out of a junk local yard for about $310. Picked this up with a clean Florida title for $200. He just wanted the fuel pump and the rear axle out of it, which, oh no, I was going to break that one anyway, considering what we got over here. This is a 2008 Chevy Express 2500. That is going to be our donor vehicle for the engine and transmission. If you don't know about these, the 2500s and everything on these particular vans do come with the 6-liter LS along with a 4L80E transmission. So our main goal is to try to take everything we can out of here: wire harness, ECU, battery, 915. That's an old battery. It still actually doesn't test good, but still will start and run the van with no issues. But we're gonna pull the harness, everything out. It's not currently charging. I think we may need to put a new alternator on it. But as you can see, clearly rusted out. Can't feel too bad about just using it for parts. Even the engine itself's got some corrosion on it, but plan is to go through it and, or at least check the bottom end bearings and everything while we have the engine out before it goes into the S10. New valve cover gaskets, rear main seal, just the basic stuff to just try to keep the maintenance up on it. It's going to be a lot easier to do whenever it's out the first time versus pulling everything else out, but it's got 100 and, I ain't got the key, but she's got 190 on it. Interior's pretty decent actually. If you need any seats, let me know. Rear bulkhead, long plan on this thing is once we get the engine, everything pulled out of it, we're going to move it right over here and turn it into a mini office, not counting what we have out front. But yeah, that's going to be our van, drivetrain and everything out of that, which will eventually end up being our office, which we're going to open up in here. I got a rear window AC unit that I'm going to put in the back here. Probably going to put the S10 seats in here to have some seating. Maybe build a little desk off the side. Got a pretty good front bumper with some strobes, signals. As you can obviously see, we've already gotten into tearing a lot of this down. Only thing wrong with this thing was it didn't have brakes whenever we picked it up. So, but we got $2,000 into that, 200 into that, 312-ish into the rear end after taxes and everything. I don't think I have them in here. Do I? Nope, those are the old motor mounts. I do have some cheap Amazon motor mounts that I also do a lot of small engine repair stuff, so you'll probably be seeing some videos on that. But I think yeah. And here we got some bushings, motor mounts, mount plates. There is something I don't like about these, which we will be addressing in the future, is on these little guys, I think it was, they don't have the insides of them welded. I don't necessarily personally like their welder, but I do have my own little MIG down there, so we're going to end up re-welding some of this stuff just to strengthen it up. it may do fine, but I don't trust them. So I'm going to re-weld them up, repaint them before I go ahead and put everything back in. But I think we're going to end up calling it probably Oswald Cobblepot, considering it's cobbled together. I got the bed for it over there. It is an S10, even though the tailgate and everything on it does say it's a GMC. Somebody just swapped the tailgate on it at one point, and as you can see, it's been sitting a little bit here in Florida with all the water in it. That's where the bedside was crushed in. Kind of got it somewhat pushed out. That's what it's supposed to look like. It's a race truck. Let's be honest. It don't matter. Alright, so here you'll see us getting the axle into place and getting it set up on the jack, so we can go ahead and get the axle to be raised up on top of the leaf springs, and trying to get those guide pins that actually hold in the lower spring perch, both the left and the right. Here you'll see I had to get some tires to help support those leaf springs as I brought the whole thing up, just to have something to actually set it on to keep repositioning the jack. I might have a small Harbor Freight jack. It's just doesn't get it quite high enough, so I had to kind of inch it up side by side just to get things into place, just using just a few tires I had laying around here just to try to keep things moving, and just using a screwdriver to try to line up the actual the actual bolt hole for that leaf spring shackle, and just trying to get the shackle bolts and everything started in there before I start working on getting the actual axle and U-bolts bolted onto the leaf springs here in just a little bit. Alright, now that we got the axle sitting onto the leaf springs here, I'm going to start trying to get the outer U-bolt axle, or the lower plates that sandwich the actual U-bolts down onto the actual leaf spring. So at this point I started to realize I have an issue that the actual plates that sit underneath the leaf spring were actually too narrow. The leaf springs on the truck were actually wider than what those were, which will end up getting to that, because at this point I should have realized that there was going to be some issues, and I continued to try to make something work whenever I probably shouldn't. So a few things happened, nothing bad, but some entertaining stuff to watch if nonetheless, if you just want to take a look here for yourself. And here I got tired of messing with the actual spring perches. Well, got tired of it. I only got one U-bolt on each the left and the right hand side, so whenever those U-bolts actually go in, it does actually flare out the bottoms of those, which we'll get to here in a couple of videos about the lower perches. But instead of doing continuing on with that or anything, it'll all make sense here in a little bit. I decided to go ahead and get off the right rear brake rotor. The actual inner portion of the drum was actually seized around the old brake shoes, just to it sitting in the yard for so long and just needing to get everything just gummed out of here, so I had to go in there and PV blast it to get everything to soak into it, and then just ended up working around the whole rotor, turn it a little bit, push in, keep tapping around the actual rotor hat itself, not on the studs. But if you go around that rotor hat while pushing out on it, it will eventually go. It just takes quite a bit of effort, but it will pop loose here in just a little bit.
I got 7 Mac 11s, about 8, 38s, 9, 9, 10 Mac 10, the shits never end. You can't.
Mount actually ended up sliding and shifting out from underneath the actual leaf spring itself. As you can see, I opted to go for the actual ratchet strap, which I probably shouldn't have done. I should have just moved on to the next thing that you'll see after I try this, but it was just a bad idea. If I would have spent a little bit more time on it, I probably could have had it to hold, but I already had kind of had the parts I needed to go ahead and do this correctly anyway, so I don't know why I didn't just do that in the first place. I think I just got a little in the rush and trying to get it done, try to get it moved, had some other stuff I had to get done right after this, so, but yeah, just, you'll see what happens. It's officially on 4 tires. The shocks in the back of it, and the tires aren't really, I don't have the lug nuts on them yet.
Okay, so they're just battles.
Well, I have 3 to hold it on. They won't fall off, but they're not the right ones. I can only hand throw one so far, but
Gotcha.
I also have a ratchet strap holding that spring perch down just because it's not, it started to lift off the axle. This side seemed to be doing better, but technically it is currently movable after I fix a few things. Alright, so this was my temporary solution, well, permanently temporary. It's planned to be a temporary solution, but it will probably work for a permanent one for at least the time being. We'll see how long that is. But so these are the stock lower plates off the S10 that it came with. But as I said, those U-bolts are, it's just a bigger axle tube itself. So the U-bolts are wider. So I'm re-drilling these axle plates so we can still utilize the same locators and stuff that the bottom of these pins have, of these plates have. So it still sits onto the leaf spring like it was stock, just re-drilling the holes to bring them out a little bit farther, just so those U-bolts can go through. But also keep in mind, the farther those U-bolts go down, the farther they end up spreading out, just because the U-bolts I think are about 1/4 to 1/8 inch too narrow, so whenever it's going over the axle, it's currently spreading them out, so it's not great. Not the proudest thing, but we can always replace the U-bolts and the lower plates a little bit later on once we actually, we're just trying to get this thing movable, keep it going, and just, at least for a temporary solution, it'll keep things moving for the time being. here after all of that, going back and forth with these lower plates, trying to get them on. These are the ones that came with the U-bolts initially, the ones that are too narrow for the actual leaf spring. So I have to now get those off of these U-bolts that have been now spread apart after I've kind of pushed them together trying to make it work. As I said, it was a bad idea. Don't do it. It's just, it wasn't worth it. I don't know why I did it in the first place. But now that we have those other mounts and everything actually drilled out, we should be able to go ahead and get these other new mounts that we have drilled out put in there and actually be able to keep this thing and get it moving. I'm gonna finish this tonight. I wonder if all this is recording upside down. Probably can't see anything actually, can you? That's sad. And we finally get the other U-bolt pretty much started on the, well, the U-bolt on the outer was already started into that lower plate. Inner one, I fought a little bit. I had the alignment off on the hole that I did drill a little bit. I had to go back out and just widen that notch out a little bit. Alright guys, so I know there was not a whole lot of me talking in this particular video. I realized that as I was actually editing it and realized that the whole thing was almost a time-lapse. But moving forward, we'll have a lot more things fixed. But the next second video is already in progress for the most part, at least some ideas and such in that regards on this. Got a few other things in the works that should be popping out. I'm going to try to get at least one video out a week, but we kind of ended up right here with her. We got the rear axle all bolted in, well, mostly bolted in. If you look down here, we still need to snug up the axle on the U-bolts, but at least it's movable and everything right now. Kind of the same on that side, but I'm gonna try to get this shock on over here, and then bring it back up here and bolt it back in up here, and hopefully have enough clearance. Still got to put the bolts on there, so probably just a little bit of finishing there. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification button so you know when the next episode's coming out. As I said, should be releasing one episode hopefully once a week. I'm going to try to push 2 if I can, but I'm not going to try to spread myself too thin here to just get started. But next time we should be getting the whole front end off of the truck here and trying to make some more plans. Once we get the nose and stuff trimmed off of this and get some of these motor mounts welded up that we were showing earlier in the video, we'll be pulling this out, getting the van pushed in. Still got the 4-wheeler and stuff over there in the back corner. But yeah, just stick around till next time.